reading our next speaker's book, Heart and Cell, really made an incredible impression on me. So much so I actually bought it on my Kindle too, even though I have a hard copy. And I've used some of those nuggets about ethical uh, behaviors, and I've shared it with a lot of other people too. So I'm sure everybody listening knows Shari Levitin and the legacy she's created and left in the timeshare industry. My guess is most of you know that she started Levitin Group in 1997 and quickly became a phenomenon, uh, a worldwide phenomenon, as a voice of ethical sales for timeshare in over 40 countries and on 5 continents around the world. You also probably know that Shari created onboarding programs that are still being used today by companies such as Wyndham, Blue Green, Festiva, and Tara and Welk Group Resorts. You probably know she did the same for Hilton, and she's worked with Hilton for the last 15 years and helped them create much of the content they use today. But Levitin Group coined the terms early on, such as third level, the 5 whys, compliance versus commitment, and excuses versus objections. And those terms are now nomenclature in the industry today. So, what you may not know, however, is in the last few years since launching her book, Heart and Cell, which became an instant bestseller, by the way. It's been translated into 4 languages and was just named one of the top 100 sales books of all time. You may also not know that she was named one of the top 50 keynote speakers globally in sales. She is the top 10 sales influencers on LinkedIn and recently started, along with 20 other sales experts, a documentary film put out by Salesforce called The Story of Sales. So, Shari, we're really honored to have you, and welcome to our event today.
And Sharon, of course, thank you for all your support throughout the years and for putting out such a great magazine. And for all of those of you who are listening that I continue to learn so much from, and there's so many friendships that we'll now have forever. I saw the list of people, and it's nice to connect with you and to reconnect with others. Everything we've been talking about, thinking about, dreaming about, planning has completely shifted in the last 4 months. I was thinking even 6 months ago, if I had heard the term coronavirus, I might have thought it was some college beer pong game or something. We had no idea. Yet here we are. And everything has changed. Everything. Look at us here having this event, not having live events, having Alexa do things for us. I was saying to one of my employees who had to be furloughed where she had to take time off because she's got kids in school. I wish we could just say, Alexa, homeschool for me, homeschool. The point is, there's only one thing left to do, and that is to adapt. So I am taking about 15, 20 minutes to talk about what is now a 2-day seminar. So hold on to your seats. Let's go. We're going to talk about 4 ways sellers must adapt to survive and thrive in this new economy. Now, before we do, let's go to the next slide. Adaptation isn't anything new. Animals have been adapting since the beginning of time. It's survival of the fittest. And I love this one because most people don't know that the alligator actually came from a prehistoric animal called Dinosuchus. And the way that alligator survived is it got thicker skin. So we can also learn from the alligator. But let's look first how our customer has adapted. And I've been fascinated with all of the new statistics about today's customer. So if we go to the next slide, this was released from Gartner, some of the information I'm going to share with you, but we have a totally different customer today. And I might argue in the last 4 months, we have a totally different customer than even in the last year or two. Now, Ron talked a lot about sales training of the 80s, and so much of our sales training was created pre-internet. And so, and even, we were involved in a lot of creating a lot of that sales training with the help of many of you and many of our leaders together. but it was created pre-internet. So we have to look at how do we need to adapt based on our new consumer. Well, let's look at who that new consumer is. And some interesting statistics just released by Gartner. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Right now, what we know is 62% of customers learn independently online and offline. So they know everything about us. They've looked at Yelp reviews before they even come in. They probably know a lot more than some of our salespeople do, which is something we need to think about. Second thing that we know, and this is huge, and should color everything we do and think about, but if you go to the next slide, we as a society, all of us, you, me, all of us, are overloaded with information today. In fact, neuroscientists tell us we've created 5 times as much information and content in the last few years than in all of humankind. We are overloaded. We also know we take in the equivalent, every one of us, of 175 newspapers worth of content per day, or 74 gigabytes worth of information. So we are overloaded, you and I, but so are our customers. And what Gartner tells us is a lot of that well-sourced information that they're looking at on the internet is contradictory. So they're confused. And we all know you confuse them, you lose them. What that results in is a retreat to the status quo or a no decision because there's so much information out there. Now, add to that what we're all going through, and that is the fear of coronavirus and what our customers are going through. I just saw an article by McKinsey that said that customer motivations have shifted so drastically that we used to look for status and relationships were the reason we would travel and adventure. And now, and this is going to be critical, what do people want? Safety and security. So are we leveraging that in all of our marketing collaterals and in our sales presentations? We're going to look at that. Now, I want to add one more thing. So in addition to information overload, fear, we have low trust. In fact, Gallup tells us that salespeople are the second least trusted of all professionals. I'll give you one guess who number one is. Do we have a chat function? Can we have people write into the chat who they think the number one least trusted of all professionals are? I'd love to see that response there. I don't know if we can do that, David. Is that available to us?
No, my guess is weathermen. I'm going to just say people that forecast the weather. That would be my guess.
How about you, Ron? Any guesses there?
I'd say government.
Ron, you are absolutely right. Politicians and members of Congress. So there. So we have this very much a consumer that's adapted. So our question is, how much have we as salespeople, as an industry and leaders adapted to these changes? And I'm going to say straight out, not enough. Now, Gartner tells us, and I've had the honor over the last couple of years of being a thought leader on Gartner's panel, tells us that there's 3 types of selling behaviors today, and only one is effective. This was breakthrough for me, and I imagine it'll be breakthrough for you. So the 3 types of selling behaviors, the first type of seller is the giver of information. So the giver of information says, well, let me show you how our points work. Let me show you how time sharing works. Let me show you a white paper. Let me show you some customer testimonials. And here's the problem. We're just giving them more information. You confuse them, you lose them. So it's just not that effective anymore. It used to be. We used to hold all the cards. We used to be the purveyors of information. Not so much anymore. Now, the second type of sales behavior is the teller of information. Now, the teller of information says, yep, based on my 20 years experience selling timeshare, here's what I'd do if I were you. Well, that's not so effective either, because if you think about it, trust is at an all-time low. So the customer doesn't even really trust that. And we're seeing more low trust than ever, particularly in our industry. So what's the solution? Well, according to Gartner, the solution, and we've worked with several companies in and out of the industry on this, the solution is we need to be a sense maker. We need to make sense of all of the information the customer has already read, already heard, and already has. Again, they are overloaded. So what does that mean? Now, this may sound like a subtle difference, but it's huge. We need to help customers sort through how to buy a product like ours. What should they be thinking about? What should they be considering? I call it being a helping brand. We need to give them value by helping them sort through all this noise and show them how they can buy. No longer can we focus on the sales process. We have to help our customers decide and help them make a decision that may or may not work for them. Maybe our product isn't right for them. So if we go now to the next slide, and again, I'm expediting this very, very much. Please feel free to call me or email me afterwards, but we need to shift the way we connect, ask, add value, and engage with our customers today. I'm only going to have a little bit of time to go through each, but I love the acronym, don't live in a cave. Folks, we cannot live in a cave when it comes to how we need to adapt. So let's go to connect first. When I talk about connecting, it used to be that we would do a statement of intent or a competency statement, and we would say to the customer, by the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you all the information you need to make a decision. I just need a yes or no by the end of the day. That is not being a sense maker. And in my mind, telling a customer what they need to do when they are so educated and has so much, they've had so much information, they're just going to dig their heels in, and we're going to lose that empathy in the relationship. One of the things we've been training on, and it's been unbelievably successful, is what if we were to adapt the way we do that? We would say, folks, by the end of the day, I'm going to show you how to buy a program like ours. Now, you've probably heard that there's resales out there, there's exit companies out there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's discuss the elephant in the room, because if we don't, they're thinking it, and it will create an objection. They know. So we have to bring it up before they do. And I feel very strongly about this. We can't be in the dark anymore. We can't hide out about it. So bring it up. And we're going to look at all of these different options that you have. But by the end of this, you'll know the best way for you to spend your vacation dollars. Now, don't worry. I'm going to show you a framework so that we become the only solution. But I think this is really critical up front to go ahead and do that. Number two, when we talk about connecting today, I believe that we need to connect customers to information they can't find on the internet. And I call it challenger information. If you've heard of a book called The Challenger Sale, the idea is to give them insights and information that they may not have already thought of that's not on the internet. So what we would say is something like, and in the case of what's going on with COVID today, 85% of consumers today feel that when they're looking at spending their vacation dollars, they want to spend it where they know they're going to be safe and secure, both physically and emotionally. Would that be important to you? That's giving them an insight about something real and important. And we're setting ourselves up to be that company that really, if you're an all-inclusive resort, how much safer is that? If you're a big, but this focus on safety and security, but bringing this up with an insight right away, because that's what's important. And finally, and I know this is a little bit controversial for some, but I'm going to bring it up. There's an old story that you may have heard about a drunk who's looking for his keys. And he's looking under a big street lamp. Police officer comes up to him and says, "Can I help you?" The drunk says, "Oh, I'm looking for my keys." Well, the officer's a good officer, so he starts helping him for about 15 minutes. And then he looks up at the drunk. He says, I don't see him anywhere. Are you sure you lost him here?" The drunk says, "Oh, no, I lost him across the street." Well, the officer's exasperated. He says, "Well, then why are we looking here?" He says, "Oh, well, the light's much better over here." Well, here's what I believe. A lot of us are looking in the wrong places today for our leads. Today, we need to employ an omni-channel marketing approach. So yes, we can use phone. Yes, we can use telesales, but I am here to tell you, if we are not leveraging social media today, this is where millennials are. This is where Gen X is. And I can also tell you that reps that use LinkedIn to find out if you're an in-house rep, why wouldn't you want to know a little bit about your customer before they come in, their likes, their dislikes? Now you can cut that discovery by a lot, build trust right away. This is the new way. This is how we need to adapt. And it's different. It's not something we've done. But again, we're in a world of adaptation. And for companies, I highly recommend that you really learn how to leverage all of these different social media platforms. Don't be in the dark and go to where our customers are. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk really briefly about ask. I want to put the bulk of my time in on value, and then I know we need to go to some questions. So when we talk about ask, and again, we're looking at the acronym CAVE, we need to change the way we connect. We need to change the way we ask. Now, back in the day, we taught something called first level, second level, and third level questions. And even though those are still critical, I'm going to say today they're not enough. Also, we have a new acronym that we've been using that I think you'll find fun if you've been following us. But the first type of questions we all need to ask customers in discovery are what I now call skin questions. So skin questions are sort of surfacey, they're at the skin. And those are questions like, where do you go on vacation? How much do you spend? Who do you go with? They're surfacey. And I will say that 80% of most salespeople I talk to stop there. The second type of question are what we refer to as bone questions. Those dig a little deeper. And bone questions really reveal problems that the customer's having now. Maybe using Expedia, it's taking too long. Maybe they don't feel safe now going to an Airbnb. Ladies and gentlemen, timing is perfect for us. God, would you really feel safe not knowing what company? Oh my God, like that gives me the willies, right? But bone questions reveal problems. But I can tell you the best salespeople in the world break past the skin through the bone and get into the heart of why people would buy. Those emotional motivators, which I just said have shifted. Now safety and security is even more important than legacy and adventure. But there's two more types of questions we need to ask today, and we need to adapt. With all of the information out there, the only way we can help to really be a sense maker is to help a customer decide how to buy a product like ours. And so I call these criteria questions, and it's a little bit of a shift with a big result. And the way that works is we would say, what's your criteria for making a decision on a vacation product? What is your criteria? Don't tell them what their criteria should be, like, use, and afford. Just because I like, use, and afford something doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. But when we ask them what their criteria is, it shifts everything. So we really need to think about that. And then I would say the next thing when it comes to ask is a lot of customers have become desensitized to these why questions. We've all been asking them for 15, 20 years. There's some different negotiation tactics that we can use. I'm not going to have time to go into them, but I am finding today buyers are getting desensitized to a lot of the old questions that we used to ask. The most important thing I want to talk about, and this is, how do we give value today? And first, I want to start with a definition of value, because this has really shifted. HubSpot says, their sales and marketing firm, value means the clarity and action and insights you bring to your clients that they can't find on their own. This is where sense making comes into play. Again, the customer has all of the information. So what do we want to do? We want to show our customers, we want to be a helping brand, how to buy a product like ours. And what we've been training people on is what we would say is, folks, when you're looking at a vacation product, whether it's ours or whether you want to continue on Expedia or whether you're going to get a vacation club, whatever it is, there's 3 criteria you should think about. Now, this is a huge shift from what we've done. And I'm going to give you an example that we do in our company. People call us all the time and they say, hi, we're looking for a keynote speaker. We're looking for a trainer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, that's fine. And they always want to get to price right away. And then I will ask them, are you looking for entertainment or are you looking for ROI? 90% of the time they say we're looking for ROI. So I'm going to say, well, there's 3 things you need to think about when hiring a training company. Number 1, are they effective? Are you philosophically aligned? Number 2, is it scalable? Meaning, can people use it on multiple platforms? Is it scalable on one of these? And number 3, is it sustainable? Meaning, do they have a method of training trainers so the program actually lasts? So what I'm doing is building a frame. We need to do the same when selling our timeshare product today. So folks, when you're looking at a vacation program, What you want to do is think about three things. And again, it's going to be very individual depending on whether you're selling pure points, depending on whether you're a brand. But here's an exercise I'm going to give you that you can do with your teams that will help you do this. There's a lot of blank companies out there. There's a lot of timeshare companies, a lot of vacation companies out there. When buying a vacation product, there's three things you should think about. And you want to really work with your team to think about what are those three things. And of course, you need to be able to do all those things. So if you're a brand, you need to think about, you want to buy it from a brand you can trust that you know is going to give you safety and security. Number two, you may want a program, as Ron says, that has a resale component. So again, you want to give them this structure and this idea. That's creating value. You're sharing with them how to buy a product like yours. Finally, I'm going to take a minute and a half to talk about how we need to adapt the way we engage. And here's what I know. We are in a totally different economy right now. And what the numbers show is that our new millennials and for sure Gen Z want a frictionless experience. This is the Amazon effect. They want it to be easy. Customer service is everything. In fact, I've got a number here. 57% of the reason people will buy more from you is because of good customer service. You need to know who they are and you need to take care of them long after the sale. We need to communicate on their desired channel. As I said before, it might be LinkedIn, it might be Instagram. We have to have all those channels. But I want to leave us all with this thought, and that is this. When I started in this wonderful industry 25 years ago, we talked about a 90-minute tour. Adapting to our new consumer means not only changing the way we connect, changing the way we ask, changing the way we give value to buy a product like ours, but it means not engaging even as salespeople for 90 minutes, but thinking, how do we engage, not for 90 minutes, but for 9 or 90 years? Because what's going to make the difference and what's going to help us survive and thrive is to put the customer at the beginning of every single equation and service them and love them, as Ron said, long after the sale. So thank you very much and would love to answer some questions. If you go to the very last slide, you can text in a number and I'm happy to share that with you. Text the word heart and sell to 31996. Happy to give you the full deck, any that was done in an hour-long format. So thank you very much, and we'll turn it back over to you, Sharon.
Thank you. That was amazing. And well, both you guys, Ron and Shari, I've been taking notes, got a lot of good information, thinking about
Shari.
some articles. Now, our next town hall, of course, will be advertised on resorttrades.com. Also, Resort Trades Weekly. If you're not getting our weekly e-newsletter, please look online to Resort Trades /e. I think we're saying e-magazine now. So forgive me. Again, thank you to our sponsors, the Contact Group, the GM Customer Count, GBG and Associates, and John Loker. Thank you too for your help.